This is covering Coco's event. Yes, Coco's event. This isn't in America. This was a 31 player event, but I really like this orc players list, so we're gonna get into that. So we have Ryan Brown here. Ryan Brown did end up going 4-1. Let's take a look at this gets list. So we have It's Crumpin' Time, a throwback list in some ways, right? We have 2 beast bosses on foot. Yup, he brought them back. Captain Badrug, Gazgul Thraka, and the Knob with Wall Banner with Follow Me Lads. Yep, you don't see a war boss, right? Interesting, right? So we have a Beast Snagaboy and other Beast Snagaboy units, of course, for the Beast bosses, and then one 20-man unit with the boys with the Wall Banner, just because he's like, you know what? I don't need the war boss. You know what I really think about that guy's not needing the war boss? I totally understand it. This unit isn't necessarily always for damage. And once you pop Unbridled Carnage, you're like, well, this should be enough to kill what I need to kill. And if not, then I at least have the OC to just stand here and hold the objectives and just tag a bunch of primaries or to tag a bunch of different enemy units. So the war boss, you know, I can understand why he's not bringing them. Not sure if I agree with it. I'm just saying I can see how it still plays out and still does its tool utility. 1 truck, of course, for the flash kits. 2 units of Gretchen, and then he opted for 2 kill rigs. Yep, you don't see a battle wag on this list at all because the boys are on foot, just running around, you know, just deciding, hey, I got Follow Me Lads. I have access to Here We Go, so I'm just going to take advantage of that. And it's true because when the Wall Banner is embarked in the transport, you cannot activate the Knob with Wall Banner. That means it takes foresight planning to go, okay, I'm going to move this embark, wait here, turn, then call hits wall, or the actual wall, and then I'm going to start getting off, right? This gives you the chance to go, hey, turn 1, if you move up right in there, this unit's just, you know, if I feel like you're going to move up or I'm going first, I'm just going to call the wall here. Just going to try to get a nice fat advance on you and charge, try to get a turn 1 charge off on you and your scouting units or your infiltrators. And if not, if I go second, then I'm definitely going to get a turn 1 off charge on you if you come to score in your secondaries by standing in the middle or something. Then I just put immediate crazy pressure on you. So I can understand why people play that without a war boss or a battle wagon. But the kill rigs were surprising, were they not? He just said, hey, I'm going kicking it back, got my kill rigs in here. Like I always say, the kill rigs are great because they activate and already have utility in almost every phase of the game. In the movement phase, they have the transport capability. In the shooting phase, they have auto-hitting las cannons. In the fight phase, they fight like but they do give buffs when during the fight phase, handing it out, you can get +1 strength, or hey, you're going to get lethals if I get lucky, right? And it does stack between multiple kill rigs. It does, I know people are like, man, mine always get popped. I understand. Yet you're going to know that there's also armies that don't just pop it right away, and sometimes you can roll decent 6 of Feel No Pains, but always bring redundancy in your list. So having 2 is a good idea, just like his Beast Boss Boy units, right? We have the Mega Knobs, just 2, and I love Twin Kill Saws, that's me. 2 Storm Boys, and then 2 units of War Bikers, because you need scoring potential, and bikers don't get just picked up, and the Storm Boys get all of the mobility you need. So let's look at his matchup, because context matters, matchups matter. I like to see this to understand what he ran into with the tools he had. Now, speaking of faction versus faction, as we went over prior, Astra Militarum. Let's see what he has. So he has Gaunt's Ghost. This is a all-rounder utility unit. Most of the time, people are going to use it at least to infiltrate, you know, or just pay for board control. It's Lord Sola Leontis. Orders. Free CP. He's amazing. Platoon Command Squad to project orders. And then a Regimental Engines here, right? Catachans for scouting. 1 Hellhound. A Lehman Russ Battle Tank. Which one is... he has Battle Cannon, of course, right? Yeah, duh. Lehman Russ Battle Tank. Lehman Russ Battle Tank. Irena's Exterminator. Fantastic. Those were pretty good. 1, 2 Manticores, a Rogel Dorn Battle Tank, Scout Sentinels, and Caladius Assassins. Right away, what can you understand here, boys? We have a 20-man unit of boys that has banner with Follow Me Lads. That means as soon as one of these things starts to move towards the pressure in the middle of the table, I'm going to run up and just start tagging everything, right? I'm going to stage behind a building, and then I'm going to just make a long bomb charge into you. If it's the wall and Gaz is there, here we go. I'm going to get lethal. And I'm going to pop Unbridled Carnage. I'm going to try to put some unforeseen damage into your tanks. He doesn't have a lot of stuff to play the mid-table other than the Catachans and the Hellhounds and a couple Sentinels. So he had to at some point start to put the tanks up the field. And if you're using the mob correctly, you can go around and start tagging multiple of these guys. And then they're trying to chew through you. They can't necessarily use their blast weapons. It gets kind of messy real quick, even though they have Leontis to give orders. They don't have they don't have a tank commander to give more orders. So even these Manticores aren't as reliable as you would want to see. And he's gonna have a Scout Sentinel. He's gonna have Catachan. His list is like, I want to move up and try to score and try to actually put some damage on you and with indirect. But hey, you're also giving me some big charges as well, because you're gonna have to invest with these big bulky, and I'm gonna just run up and tag hopefully 2 of them with just my mob alone, not to mention everything else that was on this list. So I can see how that came down to a get being in cunning, as you can see. So great job to Ryan. Let's take a look at his second list real quick. His matchup, we have the Iron Templars. That's a great name for your list, to be honest, because that doesn't make sense for Black Templars, but here we are. So we have Black Templars with Ironstorm Spearhead. We have High Marshal Hellbrig, the Judicia, Tech Marine, and the Emperor's Champion. A bit heavy on characters. I think, I don't know if you really need the Emperor's Champion, but it's fine. We have the Black Templars, Gladiator Lanza, Infiltrator Squad, Primaris Sword Brethren. We have 3 of them, of course. Pulsar Executioner, Scout Squad, Cladius Assassin. Our get for sure had to be patient with this list, because he does have the Kill Rigs and the Beast Boss and the Knob with Wall Banner unit, so that he can possibly run up and start punching things and everything. But you got to be careful, because the amount of lethal hits that you can get off on this list from the Repulsors is disgusting. The counter charging from the Sword Brethren is disgusting. So you need to fight on death for sure. And if you can, let me see. If you're, being cunning, I would definitely try to wrap and trap, these Crusaders into the Sword Brethren into their transports, because just not letting them get out with your big brick could be freaking awesome. Of course, once you're holding them there, Beast Boss comes in there and starts punching through these tanks like nothing. He doesn't have Redemptor Dreadnoughts, because when you put Redemptor Dreadnoughts on this list and the person kind of front lines them into the Orcs might have an issue actually chewing through that fast enough reliably between either squigs or knobs or a flash gate. All of those things don't really like to see a Redemptor Dreadnought. So the fact that he doesn't have that and he just has a couple scouts, and then everything else is like, here's a package inside this repulsor, here's a package inside the repulsor, here's a package inside this repulsor. It's like, all right, well, that means once I interact with you, I'm interacting with all of it, and I actually have kind of the ability to dictate it to a certain extent with this big mob of boys. And then the rigs come in and the guys get out, disembark, gas goes off with this WAAAGH, it's lethal. You kind of hold them in the corner. You do possibly get tabled after, but I think if you're managing your fight on death and getting your Beast Boss stuck in to pop some of those repulsors, you can start chewing through that list also. It could go either way, but the Ryan, I think that was a high skill game, most likely, as in he was really on his P's and Q's, but he just pulled it off with good maneuverability. That's one of those things that you would see it on paper and be like, man, this could be really difficult, but it all could also, you're a high skilled get using good terrain. You can go, hey, I can see how I can maneuver this, so let's go. Now, third matchup, he goes, we RTT army. Okay, World Eaters. So we have Angron, Lord Avocado, World Eaters, Lord and Juggernaut with Favorite of Corn, and Master of Execution with Berserker Glade. Okay, pretty straight up. So, we know that Lord Avocadus tells people to, I believe, scout or infiltrate. No, scout, sorry. He tells them to scout, and then this guy's literally here just to bring Favorite of Corn for Angron, and then this guy got his decrease, his points increase and everything, and the weakness of the Berserker Glaive, but it's still pretty good. 2 units of Jackals, so you can tag and hold objectives and just keep them, because that's what their battle line rule is. Unit of Corn Berserkers, that's for the Executioner, and then once you shoot them, they get to surge into combat, so be careful about that. World Eaters and Rhino, that's the 1 Rhino just for that big unit for the boys, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 units of 8-bound. 2 of them are actual 8-bound in the 3-man units, and then we have a 3-man unit of Exalted 8-bound followed by a fat 6-man unit of Exalted 8. This is very much up to you as the Orc player to know how to maneuver a World Eaters army, because we don't typically like someone being able to get the initiative on us, and World Eaters actually have great potential and ability to do that. Also, killing Angron sometimes can be problematic. Luckily, this guy does have multiple Beast Bosses, so he's like, Beast Boss, get in there. Oh! He just runs in there and clobbers, and then Angron gets back to life, and then another Beast Boss flies out the kill rig and does it again. So he does also have the tools for it, but just keep in mind that it does come up to you as the Orc player to understand, hey, you can actually get the initiative on me. I'm going to put my bikers up forward. That way you can only charge on my bikers because you have no shooting. Maybe if I have to, I put my Storm Boys even. I keep them on the table just so I can use them as move blocking pieces too, as well as always hold on SCP so you can fight on death as soon as that big unit of 8-bound gets somewhere. And if you're able to with your big mob, just tag the Rhino and try to hold it. Really just try to surround it. If you can wrap it and just keep the guys in there, that would be very nice. Just remember that if they blow up, they can get out possibly behind you. But since it's a fat unit, that'd be much more difficult. So shout out to that. as you can see, normally Orks do quite well into them. This is the one game he got 100 points into, so great job to Ryan. You have to know, hey, you're gonna auto 6 advantage. I'm gonna get in front of you. Going second helps in that matchup too, in my opinion. So yeah, let's talk about the one loss that he had, which was to the person who won the event, and he brought everybody's favorite faction right now, the Necrons with the Canoptic Court. So he brought the Catan, the Shard, the Nightbringer, the Void Dragon, 2 Technomancers. One is for infiltrate, and the other one I think for PP farming. That's the enhancements. And then the Technomancers give the 5-up Feel No Pains to the Wraiths. The Transcenda Catan, a 1, 2, 3 Doomstalkers for that kind of reliable damage output for anti-tank. I believe it's strength 14 minus 3, I think 3 damage. I have it over here. So I can see why people bring it. It's pretty cheap for what it is too, right? Compare this to a Death Dread, in your head a little bit. Not that you should go around comparing. I'm just letting you know what the point is comparison to that, right? So I was seeing if I still had the points for what it was, or it's strength 14 minus 3 damage, and it's heavy. It normally hits on 4s, but remember, Court gets rerolls. Then we have 2 units of Wraiths, followed by 1 individual Locust Destroyer for scoring, and then 2 Tomb Blades that are actually great for scoring. So this did kind of catch me off guard. This is one of those matchups that you're like, ooh, I kind of wish I did have the War Boss here to get +1 to hit, to hopefully get better hits into the boys on lethal, on the wand to one of these Wraith bricks. Keep in mind, if you ever go into this kind of list, try your best to precision out or heroic challenge Technomancer from that Wraith unit. Remember, you do need line of sight to actually see it to challenge him. So get your positioning correct, but he's actually quite soft. So that's the one little piece of advice I can give there. If you can pop him, the list starts to go downhill, but usually the Necron player will tail him out and stick him in a building, right? So Orks, you would think, hey, with this kind of list, we have the wall with wall banner, we have Gads on this list, we should be able to throttle them into them. Yet, the guys are kind of shimming up the field. They might get hit with some of those shots. The heavy one blast if they're waiting. But what I think happened possibly is the Ork ran up there, got in, popped Unbridled Carnage, maybe didn't just roll hot enough at all because you're still wounding the Wraiths on 5s. And maybe he just whiffed on hitting on 3s, which can happen and does happen. Not rolling enough lethals, and then hey, now you're just here in the open. Kill rigs don't really like the weapon that those big Doomstalkers have. You can at least all focus fire them into the one rig and hurt it, and then kind of finish off the Beast Boys and Snagga Boys that are in there. And Beast Snagga Boys don't do Beast Boss on foot with the Beast Snagga Boys do great hypothetically into Catan if they're still at full potential, right? If they lose 5 of those guys and it's just a Beast Boss, they're gonna have still a very, very hard time. And hypothetically, they want to pop Unbridled Carnage into the Catan so they can take advantage of their rerolls, which means your mob isn't doing it. So it's very much like I gotta go on 2 different turns things. I gotta really manage this. If they pop my rig and then kill a couple of my guys that disembark, it can get rough. So I can see, even though you're looking at the list like, hey, you do have ways to beat that list. Obviously, the guy running the Necron list was high level and very skilled. He understood how to manage his Catans, and 3 Catans is still very difficult to deal with for the most part. So with no shame in losing to that guy at all or that list, it was still a great run. Hard time. I'm not sure what the mission was. Hard score. So then in his last game, he had to get redemption, and he had to deal with the Blood Angels. I would like to get revenge, right? If I just went into something annoying like Necrons, I definitely want to go into something else that wants to fight me, like a Space Marine and Power Armor, because I want redemption. I love Crump and Space Marine. So this would be a fun matchup if you're an Ork. Like, all right, cool. Gladius, Blood Angels, yeah, come get some, right? So we have Chaplain with Jump Pack, Lamartis, and the Sanguinor. So the Sanguinor is very fun in my opinion because he kind of drops from the sky and sticks to people. So it's pretty cool. I should have pulled up his data sheet. I forgot to. Very fun. Ballistus Dreadnought. Ooh, not that I'm a Space Marine player, even though I own the army, because I'm definitely not. But I still to this day don't see the appeal in these Ballistus Dreads, other than that they're 20 points cheaper than a Lancer and a little bit more durable. I'm not sure if that pays off long run game, but as an Ork player, if I see Basilisk, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. You're maybe gonna pop my truck if if I don't roll an invuln, I guess, or if you don't roll bad damage. Other than that, your Storm Cannon's not really that scary, and your Missile Launcher is really not that scary, and you don't have volume, so I'm like, whatever. And you don't reduce damage. Death Company, this is the army where these are the 2 units that you're like, all right, you're gonna get there. I'm gonna find Death. You're probably gonna find Death if I charge you instead. We're gonna get a straight trade up out here. Whatever's getting hit is probably dying, but that comes down to still managing resources. Most people aren't going to reliably be happy that you find Death, and these are quite expensive units, and then you're going to throw the Martys on one of them, so that's going to be pretty intense. But be careful because this list goes hard. Then we have the Infiltrators, a Redemptor Dreadnought, and a Redemptor Dreadnought. So this army as you can see, has almost no fat on it. It lacks so much scoring potential, in my opinion. If most armies can't fight on death, they start getting chewed through by these death company, and then the Redemptors are just standing in the middle, shooting you down, trying to fight you, trying to get stuck in too. But as an orc, you're like, there's only one thing that can get the initiative on me during the, everything can advance and charge on there because they're Gladius. So manage fighting in death, manage, maybe you don't have to kill the Redemptor Dreadnoughts, but you can tab them with the mob of boys and just kind of drag them down slowly. And if you do, if the guy runs out of CP, hypothetically, you could kill them with the boys and gas and such, but just remember they have armor. So that's why Redemptor Dreadnoughts are typically tough. And then a Beast Boss, he can do work, but you do need to chip down the Redemptor Dreadnought going into it because he will do work, but since he's reducing his dev wound damage, he's really going to do like I think it was like 5 damage or something, so this is still a difficult matchup for you if you're just used to just going because this is a full damage list. But as we can see, our boy out here was very cunning. So shout out to Ryan Brown because he pulled that out. It was his lower scoring win, but I could see why, because you have to be cagey into Gladius Blood Angels. They're a very difficult army to deal with if you're not familiar with them, knowing that they can advance and shoot, or they can advance and charge, or they could fall back, and they can do all these different things. So, the Blood Angel player to even get that far means they understood what they were doing with their all damage list. So shout out to Brian Brown because he was able to save on a 6. Whoa, let's go, you get. So great job to you. Wanted to start with you because I appreciated your list. It was a bit different. The boys brought back the beast bosses on foot, brought some kill rigs into the mix because everybody's always down on kill rigs. Yet here we are, kill rigs again, going 4-1. So everybody puts them down. Yet it's more about, don't be sweating on what everybody else says or thinks. Just know that any model that can play so many phases of 40k is going to have some kind of play for the most part. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.